Hi, welcome to the next Gren Twigs video. I am going to talk about doing some TDD in Gren, some test-driven development. And I'm going to pick up where we left off with the last video where we had this program that just asked for your name and it said hello. I want to add something to this where there's an Easter egg. If your name happens to be a palindrome, such as Bob or Madam, I'm Adam, then it will give you a special message. So to do that, I'm going to want a new module called palindrome. And I'm not going to add anything to that message yet, to that module yet, because the way I like to do TDD, I think the way a lot of people like to do it, is by not adding any actual code unless you have a failing test telling you to do so. So if we want some tests to help us drive this implementation, we're going to need a few things. We need to install a package called grenlang test. That's gren package install. Great. We need one more package, and that is, so the test package will give us functions for our expectations and the structure of our test suite. But we need a test runner that can actually run it. We have a runner that can run tests in the browser. We also have one that can run in Node. We're going to use the Node one, and that's just called test runner node. All right. So, well, I got Vim over here. So what we want is a module similar to main that can be run, but we're going to call this one tests. And I'm calling it tests specifically to avoid calling it test without the S, because then we would have a conflict with one of the modules in the test package. You can call it whatever you want. You can put it under another module or something, but I'm calling mine tests. So my module exposes a main function, just like our other main. We're going to need a few things. Let's see. We're going to need, what are we going to need? Let's look at, so on the package site, if you search for test, and go to that test runner, you'll see an example here. Let's just grab these imports. Yeah, we're gonna want expect, describe, and test are gonna be helpful, and we need some stuff from our runner for the program. All right, so our main is gonna be a program from the test runner node package, and we create our program with this run function that we're also exposing. So everything below this will be passed to the run function with this little back arrow helper here. So we're going to make we're going to want an array of tests. So this describe function is a helpful way to do that. You can give it a description and then an array of tests. So our description is going to be, we are going to describe some function we don't have yet, but we'll make it. We'll call it palindrome.check. And it takes a list of tests. Each test you're going to create with the test function. And similar to describe, you give it a string to describe the test that you're writing. So this test will be that it is true if string is a palindrome. We'll just start dirt simple here. The second thing you pass to the test function is a function. For convenience here, you're going to see syntax like this. That might look a little bit confusing, but what's happening here is we've got our little back arrow here that says, okay, everything, whatever is on the right of this, whatever resolves on the right of this, pass it as the next argument to this function. So what is on the right of this is an anonymous function. So, we're avoiding some parentheses, but we have an anonymous function that takes an argument but ignores it. So that's the underscore. And then the arrow signifies everything after this is the body of the function, which we're going to put on the next line. Now we get to use our expect module. If you go back to the package site and go into the test package, you'll see expect gives you some handy functions for checking things. We're going to stick with expect.equal. And just to make sure this is all working, we're going to say that we expect that true equals false. That is the end of our test, and it's also our only test, so we'll close the array here. We should be able to run this now. There we go. We got the expected failure. Now, another thing that I like with TDD is having a very fast feedback loop. So I don't want to be constantly switching between my two panes here and manually running the tests. To do that, I'm going to use a command called enter, but there's lots of things that you can use for this. I like this because it's easy to install and it works for pretty much everything. You can pipe it a list of files and it will watch for any changes in those files and run whatever command you give it. So to get the list of files, I'm going to use another command that I like. It's called fd. It's similar to find, except it has some niceties with regular expressions and it's get aware. But however you can get a list of files, I'm just going to say find any file that ends in .gren. Great, that's the list we expect. And like I said, we can pipe that to enter. I'm going to pass the -c argument to enter, which clears the screen between runs. And the thing it should do is gren run tests. All right, now I should be able to, anytime I make a change, it'll run the tests. Great. So palindrome.check. Let's actually try to call that now. So if I import my module, I'll say if I check Bob, then I expect that it equals true. So before we had this, right? Equal, we had expect that equal something something. This is similar, but you'll see this syntax probably more often in tests where the thing you're testing gets piped as as an argument to whatever function is on the right of this thing here. So the function on the right of here is the result of calling .equal with true, which is another function that expects that last argument. So if that didn't make sense, there's some previous videos on things like this. But you get used to it. This is what it's going to look like. It's also going to fail because it's trying to parse a declaration, but it got stuck on the first very empty line. Right. Let me bump the font size down just a bit so you can see what file is failing. So yep, it's our palindrome file, which we know is empty. So this is now we're getting into what I was talking about with TDD. I haven't added any code to this file because I haven't had a test that told me to do it, and now I do. So I will do it. So my module is called palindrome, and I'm exposing, I'm going to want to expose a check function. Now on the second line, not happy there because I need some kind of code. So we'll just do this for now. Really, what I'm doing, and I might not go quite this minute with my changes, but I'm showing more of the pattern and the flow, which is I really just want to write the smallest, most simple code I can to get past, not necessarily to make the test pass, but to just get past the current failure message. Okay, the check value is not a function. It doesn't take an argument. All right, so yeah, we want a function here, and it should take a string and return a Boolean. All right, my string and return a Boolean will say there's a Boolean. All right, it's passing. So At this phase, I have a passing test. Now I do a couple things. I can clean up my code, without changing any logic, just refactor, clean. There's nothing to clean or refactor now. The other thing I'm going to do is to look and say, is my logic complete? I'm going to look at the tests. I can tell by looking at this that it's not complete. I'm just hard coding true here. But looking at my logic, I'm not testing on the logic here. I'm only testing the true case. So let's add a test for the false case. So I'm in an array. I have a comma to separate the elements of my array. The next thing is another test, and I'll say it's false if string is not a palindrome. So my name is not a palindrome. I expect that that's going to be false. All right, and it's failing. So how do I get that to pass without making my other tests fail? And really what I want to say is, does my string equal the reverse of the string? All right, they both pass. Looking at the code, I don't think there's anything to clean up. But looking at my tests, I think there's some more logic that I want here. So it's not dealing with capitalization, for example. So let's do something here. Actually, no, I was going to get a little fancy, but let's not get fancy yet. Let's just say it handles capitalization as an explicit test. So I'm going to say that should be a palindrome, but my test is saying it's not. So we have some work to do. Let's say that let's say we need to clean the string. Is there a lower function? I have no idea. There's not. Two lower. Helpful compiler is helpful. There we go. We're passing again. All right. What else does it need to handle? It needs to handle punctuation. So if my name is Madam, I'm Adam. That should be a palindrome, but it's not. At this point, I'm gonna stop. So I'm probably would keep running through this and adding a little more logic. Eventually get to the point where I probably will want to do some refactoring. But I think you get the idea. You're gonna have some module that uses one of the test runners. You can look at the README for the package to get the syntax for that. It's roughly gonna look something like this. Take a look also at if there's any Gren packages on the package site, there should be a link to the source. And you can find a lot of test code to look at to figure out some of the more complex stuff. Like, okay, well, how do you structure a large test suite if you're testing more than just one function? There's other things too, like if you want to test side effects and tasks and have like more of an integration style test, there's a package that I wrote called Effectful Tests that can do that. Oh yeah, one more thing. If you're looking at source for stuff, you're probably gonna see tests that are in a separate folder, not just like alongside the source of your application. So don't, if you don't see where you think see it, I don't know. I should just stop the video. I'm going to stop the video here.